Morning, students. We are going to start module 5 as I have told, and in the module 4 we have covered sheet metal forming processes, and in the module 5 basically we are going to cover mathematical modeling of metal forming processes. So when we are saying mathematical modeling of metal forming processes, it is going to cover both bulk metal forming processes as well as sheet forming processes. Okay, so when we talk about mathematical techniques, there are various types of techniques. In your syllabus, specifically these four techniques are mentioned. That is the slab method, upper and lower bound techniques, self-line field theory, and finite element method. So before starting the slab method, why we actually go for mathematical modeling of metal forming processes? So the reason is that for plastic deformation problem, uh, we need to find out the exact solution. Okay, so for finding out the exact solution, what we understood or what we assume that in the case of equilibrium, the differential equation for stress tensor must be satisfied throughout the deforming body. This is the first condition. Then second condition is the continuity of flow or incompressibility must be maintained. Then the third and most important criteria is that which is very important in the case of plastic deformation, that is the you know uh, continuity, that is the let me okay. So in the case of third criteria is the that the yield criteria must be satisfied, that the applied stresses or the induced stresses in the case of your forming operation must exceed your yield value. Then the fourth criteria is yield stress strain relationship must be satisfied. Then the last criteria, that is the geometric and static boundary conditions, including the friction behavior over the interface between the tool and workpiece, must be satisfied. So these are the five major conditions that must be satisfied, that must be fulfilled for the plastic deformation of any your metal forming or any metal during the metal forming operation, whether it is the case of bulk metal forming process or it is the case of your sheet forming process. Okay, so among these methods, we will be taking up your slab method. First, we will discuss about slab method, and we will try to you know find the exact solution in the case of your various metal forming processes using your slab method. Okay, so let us come to the slab method. As the name indicate, slab, it is it is a kind of analysis to be done on a slab portion, or the element shape is in the form of slab. So in the case of slab method, the distribution of contact pressure between the tool and workpiece and the working stress is obtained through simplification of the stress state. The entire deformation region is divided into a finite number of elements, which are in the form of slabs, and then your equilibrium equations of any typical element is solved, subjected to your given stress strain, your strain bound stress boundaries. Okay, so there is typo error, it is stress. Okay, so this is how we carry out your analysis, that is called slab method analysis. So based on this analysis, or you can say this analysis, for this analysis we have certain assumptions, because all the conditions we cannot be perfectly be a model mathematically. So we assume certain assumptions. So there are certain typo error I will be rectifying at a later stage when I will be distributing this PPT to all of you. So this analysis is based on the following assumptions. The first assumption is that the stresses on the element surface perpendicular to the flow direction are in principal direction and are not permitted to vary on the surfaces. So stresses on your elemental surface, that is the slab which is under consideration, the stresses on this particular element are in the direction of principal direction, or you can say in the principal axis. Okay, so since this PPT has been typed by me, so some word might have spelling error, and it would be corrected like this is a principal direction. Okay. Then the second assumption, the external frictional stresses do not affect the internal stress distribution. Okay, this is the second assumptions in the case of slab method. Okay. So as I told that in the case of slab method, the equilibrium equation for a typical element or slab can be obtained or solved subjected to the stress boundary conditions suitable for process under consideration. Okay, so this is how we will be proceeding about about the slab method, when we will try to apply this method uh, to your metal forming processes. So we will start from bulk metal forming processes, and among the bulk metal forming processes, we have the simplest process which is called as forging. Okay, so in forging we have two types of forging, or you can say three types, that is open die, closed die, and impression die. Okay, so uh, and we will take the first case, that is open die forging. So I hope all of you remember that what is called open die forging. In open die forging is carried out between two flat dies or dies of very simple shape. Often open die forging is used to preform the workpiece for the closed die forging. Okay, so let me draw an example for your clarity here. I hope all of you remember that how we used to carry out the open die forging. Okay, so this is we are having upper die. Suppose this is your upper die, and then we are having, no, let me make it some more large, erase all. Okay, then let me make it more large. Okay, so suppose this is your upper die. For more clarity, I have made because I will be doing certain analysis in the upcoming part. So I have knowingly, or I'm creating this die like this. Okay, so therefore this is your upper die. Let me write it as UD, and this is your bottom die, or let me write it as BD. Okay. So what is done? Suppose we are having certain material, something like this. Suppose you are having workpiece something like this, and which on the application of open die forging, or through open die forging, this material is getting converted into something like this. Okay, so this is being compressed. Okay, obviously this has to be kept between these die hull. Okay, so after the end of operation, suppose this is converted in some shape, something like this. Okay, so let me take let me write it as P. This is your height of your final product, and this is your you can say uh, length of your final product. Suppose it is B. Okay. So this is the simplest is how we carry out your open die forging operation. You keep metal workpiece, which is which may be initially your metal block, and which is forced or which is forced or compressed between these two flat dies, that is upper die or bottom die, and it is converted after the compression. It is converted into this particular final shape. Okay, so in this case, you can see this particular region is representing your final shape and size of your uh, your product after the application of open die forging. Okay, so in the case of open die forging, or you can say upsetting operation, because open die forging operations, the simplest example is upsetting operation. Okay, so in upsetting operation, we have a rectangular block and which is compressed to a parallel platen. Okay, so this has been converted to a parallel platens. The maximum force or force required to perform the upsetting operation you can obtain using your slab method. So we will be discussing how we will be evaluating and how we will be identifying the force requirement or the pressure distribution in between these two open flat surfaces. Okay, so before proceeding ahead, we must remember that what may be the friction conditions. Okay, so the friction conditions between these two surfaces, maybe the friction may be very high, maybe very low, or friction may be neither may be very high or very low. If the friction is very high, what will happen? If the friction is very high, your material, when you are trying to compress, it will not flow properly, and some bulging kind of effect will be created. I hope you remember the discussion which took place during the forging operation, where we discussed the role of friction, that if there is no friction, then your rectangular block will be perfectly forced in between these two flat die, and the reduction in the height will be uniform throughout the cross section. That is, the reduction in this particular cross section will be uniform at any cross section of your rectangular block. But practically it is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because practically zero friction is not possible. Okay, so if we assume that there is low friction, then there will be low variation in the cross sectional area. But what if if your friction is very high? Okay, so what will happen? So your since your material, due to very high friction, your material will get stuck, or it will stick with your die surfaces, and material will not flow properly. Okay, so there will be high variation at the cross section. If you take the cross sectional area at this point, and if you take cross sectional area at the middle of your forced product. Okay, so there may be multiple conditions, that like friction may be low, friction may be high, and there may be mixed conditions, like at certain position the friction is low, and at certain position the friction is very high. Okay, so let us forget about these frictional conditions. We have certain assumptions before proceeding ahead in slab method. So let me read out these were the three conditions, that is low friction, high friction, or mixed friction condition. Then we have certain assumptions, as I told, which we need to take care while discussing about the slab method. So the first assumption is uh, the deformation occurs under plane strain conditions. That is, the thickness of the strip is much smaller than the other dimensions. Okay, that is the first condition, first assumption. Then we have second assumptions, that is the coefficient of friction remain constant throughout the interface. Again, this is mu. It is representing your coefficient of friction. It got a typo error. That's why it has not symbol has not been printed. It will be rectified during when you will get the PPT. Okay. So the coefficient of friction it remains constant throughout the interface, whether it is a case of low friction, high friction, or mixed frictional conditions. Okay. Then the next assumption is the stresses are uniformly distributed across the entire cross section. Okay, so stress distribution in the entire cross section, that is the deformed cross section, is uniform. Okay, so this was the third assumptions. Then we have fourth assumption, that is the maximum force occurs at the point of forging operation, at the end point of the forging operation. Okay, so we assume that when we are trying to flatten this particular initial uh, you know initial workpiece. This is your initial workpiece. uh, okay, and which is converted into this particular shape. So we are assuming that at your starting point, your forging force is low, but at the end of operation, the forging force is very high, or you can say the maximum forging force is achieved at the end of operation. Okay, this was the fourth assumption. Then we have fifth assumption, that which is also important when we talk about slab method, when we are trying to model your process or mathematically using your slab method. So what is the last assumption or the fifth assumption? The entire workpiece is in the plastic state during the process. So you can say that the workpiece is only in the plastic state. It is not it is not in elastic. There is no elastic state, or there is you can say only plastic state exists during the operation of open die forging. Okay, so with these assumptions, we will move ahead and we will try to see, we will try to carry out the open die, try to carry out the slab analysis of open die forging process. Okay, so in this particular let me elaborate this diagram here. So since we have converted this your initial workpiece into this final shape. Okay, so on this particular workpiece or the final product, let me draw a symmetrical line, because this is what a rectangular block, and suppose this is your line of symmetry. Okay, so we are assuming that this is your this particular length was b, then this would be b by 2. On any side of this particular symmetric line, your total length of spread would be, or this will be b by 2. Okay, yes. So we also assume, because we assume that the stresses are uniform or throughout the cross section, and it was our assumptions. So we assume that whatever stresses will be developed in one side, that is right hand side, that these will be symmetric to the stresses in left hand side. Okay. Okay, we are assuming this. Okay. Now let us consider a element or a slab at distance x from this symmetrical line. So at distance, suppose say x, you are having a slab at distance x. Okay, this is your slab, Okay, let me draw it. This is your particular slab under consideration in right hand side of this symmetrical line, and on this slab you are having in on this slab, in suppose in this direction you are having a certain stress sigma x, principal stress sigma x, and at this particular moment you are having stress sigma x plus d sigma x. Okay. On the one side you are having sigma x, and on the other side you are having sigma. I will try to draw this diagram when I will be distributing this PPT with all of you. But for now we will continue with the same. Okay, so let us assume that width of this particular slab is, or the element is dx. Okay. So what is the element? Here we could see that on this element we have one side sigma x, another side we have sigma x plus d sigma x. At what distance? It is at distance x. Okay. Then when we consider the this contact point of your slab with your lower die. So what will be the pressure? What will be the force? There will be a pressure P acting on this slab, and because your material is flowing in the right hand side, when we see the flow direction of material, this material, in which direction it will be flowing? It will be flowing in this particular direction. So in this particular direction, what we could see, this is the flow of material direction. So friction will work opposite to direction of material flow, and what will be the amount or stresses? This will be mu p, because we know friction is going to oppose the flow of material. So since the force acting on this particular slab, it was or the pressure acting on this particular slab was mu p, so the stress which will be opposing the flow of material, this will be mu p. Similarly, on the upper side, thus for this particular element, okay, let me erase this. Okay, so then I can draw it with more clarity. Okay, so on the upper slab also this will be P, and the opposing force will be mu P. Okay, this is the case when we are considering the right hand side of this particular element. Okay, a particular example. Now let us consider the left hand side at the same distance. With the slab of same dimensions, shape and size. Okay, so since this distance is x, okay, this is the left hand side. Okay, so in left hand side, what will happen is, suppose you are having stress sigma x. Okay, then at this end, what will be the value? This will be sigma x plus d sigma x. Okay, then the force which would be acting on it, this will be P, and what will be the flow of material? In which direction material will be flowing? The flow of material will be from in this direction. So the frictional force will be in this particular direction. Okay, so the frictional force or stress due to the pressure, this would be mu P. Similarly, from the bottom side, you can say P, and this will be mu P. Okay, so from here you can see, uh, here you can see uh, in the right hand side, we could see the stress and the pressure and distribution, and the opposing stress developed on this particular slab in right hand side as well as left hand side. So for to continue with your analysis, let's just try to see the forces on the slab which is in the right hand side, because any one side, if you can solve one side problem, then we will be able to solve the another side. Okay, because it is symmetric to at this particular line of symmetry. Okay, so in this particular direction, suppose width of this particular element is t, then what will be the stress developed you know on this particular element in principal axis? This will be sigma x plus d sigma into cross sectional area. So suppose cross sectional area is height is s, and then the length is or the width is t. You can say the area will be h into t. So this will be multiplied by sigma x in plus d sigma x. This will be sigma x. Let me write here for better clarity. Sigma x plus d sigma x into h into t. Okay, this will be stress in in x direction, and if you try to see the equilibrium, this will be minus sigma x. Okay, yes. Now any other force which is remaining, it is mu p. Okay, mu p at the bottom and mu p at the top. So it is again minus twice mu p. Okay, so this will be again sigma x will be multiplied by h into t minus, just a second, minus twice mu p into what value? This will be multiplied by t. Okay, equal to 0. Okay, in the case of equilibrium. Okay, sorry, the width of this area will be calculated dx into t. Okay, into dx, mu p into area, so twice mu p into area is t into dx. Okay, so this is how this is the equilibrium equation, and if you see t is common everywhere, so you can eliminate the t term. So if you solve it, it it will come something like this. Okay, this in the is for the from the equilibrium of your right hand side element, it will end up with something like this: sigma x plus d sigma x into h minus sigma x into h minus twice of mu p into dx equal to 0. So equation number 1. So here what is sigma x? We it is already it has been already discussed. Sigma x is the stress acting in the x direction. D sigma x is the incremental stress acting in the x direction. Again, P is the normal stress or the pressure acting on the slab work interface. Okay, so this is all about your right hand side. Then consider the left hand side. Okay, so in the left hand side, this equilibrium equation will yield. The only difference would be that earlier the frictional component, it was having a negative sign, now it is having positive sign. On most of the elements remain the same. Okay, so this will be sigma x plus t sigma x into h minus sigma x into h plus twice mu p dx. Okay, and if you try to see here, this sigma x into h, if you remove these brackets, this will be sigma x into h, and this is again sigma x into h. So this term will be cancelled by this, and in equation 1 also sigma x into h, this will be cancelled by this. So the term which would remain, it would be uh, h into d sigma x minus twice mu p dx. When we consider about equation number 1, this will be h d sigma x minus twice mu p dx equal to 0. And in the equation number 2, that is for the element in the left hand side, this would be h d sigma x plus twice mu p dx. So the difference is only between the minus and plus sign. So equation 1 and 2 can be written jointly as h, that is h d sigma x minus plus twice mu p dx equal to 0. Let us say this equation number 3. So here in this particular equation, your minus sign corresponds to the value or the element which is corresponding to right hand side, and the plus sign corresponds to the element which is in the left hand side. Okay, so yes, so we all these minus, we have minus plus, so minus is corresponding to right hand side and plus is corresponding to left hand side. Okay, yes. Now try to see your one misses yield criteria. Okay, try to apply this one misses yield criteria. Okay, so we are discussing, we are discussing this method. We are assuming that the condition that your friction is low. It is your, or you can say you can say there is nearly zero friction in this first case. Okay, and we are trying to solve this particular slab, this open die forcing problem using your slab. So from the one misses yield criteria, we know that sigma of 1 minus sigma 3 equal to 2k. I hope all of you remember this discussion which took place in the previous classes. So in this particular slab, you can see what are the principal stresses. This is sigma x. Okay, what are the principal x stresses? This is sigma x, and sigma 3 is equal to minus p. In the present case, sigma 1 equal to sigma x and sigma 3 is equal to minus p. So from the yield criteria, if you put these values, this will be sigma x plus p equal to 2k. Take the differentiation of this. By differentiating this, you will get d sigma x equal to minus dp. Okay. Put this value in your previous equation, that is equation number 3, minus d sigma x equal to dp. If you put this value, d sigma x equal to minus dp, put this value, what you will get, minus h dp. Okay, you have put the value of d sigma x in this particular term, that is equation number 3. You will get minus s dp minus plus twice of mu p into dx. So this we have got from the equation number 3. Okay, yeah. Equation number 6. Now we need to rearrange this equation 6, that is minus sdp minus plus twice of mu p into dx equal to 0. If you rearrange both sides, you will get dp upon p equal to minus plus twice of uh, mu upon h into dx. Okay, so this we can get by rearranging your equation number 6, and now you can integrate this particular uh, equation number 6 in both sides. If you integrate both sides, you will get natural log of p equal to minus plus twice of mu upon h into x plus certain constant c. Okay, so say this constant is c. It can be rewritten as p equal to c into e raised to the power minus plus twice of mu upon h into x. Okay, this is the equation number 9. Okay, And now how we will evaluate the constant C. So the constant C you can evaluate uh, uh, by putting the boundary conditions, because we know at at in this slab, particular this slab, in this particular slab, this is x equal to 0, and this is x at this point, end point is x equal to p by 2. So at the extreme point, your what will be the value of stress? Sigma x would be 0 at x equal to plus minus p by 2. Either it is we are considering right hand side or left hand side. On any side, your value of sigma x would be 0. So therefore, at x equal to p by 2, you can calculate the pressure, value of pressure. So p will be p at p by 2 equal to ce minus plus twice of mu upon h mu twice of mu upon h into x. And this is equation number 10. Okay. So now from the yield criteria, if you try to see the yield criteria at the boundary conditions, you will see that P upon because in the previous equation, what you were having, let me come here. Okay, you were having sigma x plus p equal to twice of k. So at boundary condition, what you are having, at x equal to b by 2, this sigma x will be 0, and p at b by 2 will be equal to 2k. Okay, so let me come here. So this will be p at b by 2 will be equal to twice of k minus sigma x at b by 2. So this term is 0. So this is representing that the pressure distribution at the boundary point, that is the x equal to b by 2, must be equal to twice of k. Okay. So since we have got this value, put this value in this particular equation, equation number 10, and you will get the value of C. Okay. So if you put this value in this particular term, this will be C twice minus plus twice mu upon h into x equal to 2k. Okay. So the pressure acting on the tool workpiece interface, that is tool workpiece interface on the right hand side, it can be obtained as P upon 2K equal to E upon E equal to e raised to the power twice mu upon H into P upon 2 minus H. This is the case of right hand side. And similarly, if you try to solve in in the left hand side, you will end up with this particular term, that is p upon 2k equal to e raised to the power twice mu upon h into b by 2 plus x. Okay, so this is how you can get the pressure distribution in right hand side or left hand side of uh, your symmetric line. Okay, let us move ahead from equation 12 and 13. From equation 12 and 13, if you what will be the maximum value of your p upon 2k. Okay, so we can see that from equation 12 and 13, these equations indicate that the pressure increases exponentially as one moves inward from p equal to 2k at both ends. Okay, so the maximum pressure is in the middle, that is at the symmetric line, and it start decreasing when we are moving away from the corner or away from the center. Okay, so the maximum pressure value is at the center. Okay, this is a typo error. The maximum pressure value is at the center, that is at x equal to 0. This is not corner. Okay, this is at center. Okay, let me note it. Give me a second. Let me bring the pen so that I can note down. Okay. So I have to correct here. This is not the corner. This is the center. Okay. This is the center. X equal to 0 because corner will be at x equal to b by 2. Okay. So at x equal to 0, what will be the value? Maximum value. This will be 3 upon 2k max is equal to e raised to the power mu b upon h. Okay. For very low value of mu, because we are considering the low friction conditions. So the above expression, that is the equation number 14 to 14, can be rewritten as p upon 2k maximum value of p upon 2k equal to 1 plus mu p upon h. Okay. So this is the equation which is representing the pressure distribution in the case of low friction condition. Okay, you can say it is the equation corresponding to the uh, to the uh, values which will represent the you know distribution of your normal pressure under low friction condition. Okay, so let us try to see the diagram which comes for the different values of mu. At low value, you will get you will get this kind of graph for this particular slab. Okay, so we have assumed in this particular graph, we have assumed that your b is equal to 4 times of your height. Okay, yes. Okay, yes. So this is all about conditions uh, about the uh, 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 you know pressure distribution when we are considering the low friction conditions. Okay, now we will try to move. Give me a second, just a second. Okay, so now we have discussed about you know low friction conditions. Now we will move towards the we will discuss about the equilibrium at high friction conditions or sticking friction conditions. Just a second. Okay, so yes, so the equilibrium, what will happen in the case of high friction condition? Because in the case of uh, in the case of high friction, there is a limit to the shear stress at the interface. Okay, and which cannot exceed the yield stress of the material. Okay, so when friction is high, a sticking friction region may extend over the whole tool work interface. In this case, your equilibrium equation can be written as uh, sigma x equal to minus plus twice k th equal to 0. Okay, and we know the yield criteria. Yield criteria is sigma x plus p equal to twice of k. Okay, again, by differentiating the yield conditions, we will get d sigma x equal to minus p, and by substituting these values in the equilibrium equation, that is sigma x minus plus twice kth equal to 0, you will it will get reduces to dp upon twice k equal to minus plus dx upon h. Okay, that now integrate this equation, you will get p upon 2k equal to uh, minus plus x upon h plus constant. Okay, so again constant, suppose c, this constant c can be obtained by putting the boundary condition, because at boundary, what are the boundary conditions? Sigma x equal to 0 at x equal to plus minus b by 2. Put these values, From the yield condition, pressure value P equal to 2K at the edges, you can get the pressure expression as below. P upon 2K equal to 1 plus B 1 plus B upon 2 minus plus X upon H. Okay. So this minus sign will correspond to right hand side and plus sign will correspond to the left hand side. The maximum value of P upon 2K, it will be at the center. So this can be obtained, or this can be given by putting at x equal to 0. This will be P upon 2K, maximum value of P upon 2K. This would be 1 plus B upon 2H. Okay, so this particular equation number 20, will give you the pressure distribution under the condition of sticking friction condition. Okay, here you can see the diagram or the distribution of normal pressure under sticking friction condition. Okay, so till now we have discussed, we have discussed about your friction conditions at low L as well as high friction condition. Now we will try to see the situation where we are having your mixed type of condition, that there is you know low friction to high friction condition. Okay, mixed type of friction condition. Okay, so because practically what happens in upsetting operation, this is the you can say the practical situation. Your sorry, your you may be having both type of situation, slipping as well as sticking in your upsetting operation. Okay, so let me see here. So like in this case, in this particular case, you may have very high sticking friction at the center, that is in the inner region, and however you might be having very low friction at the outer side of or you can say outer region of your forging operation. So you may have low friction condition at the outer edge, and you may have high friction condition at the center of or the in the inner region of your forging operation. So how we will move ahead in the case of mixed friction condition, when we are having very high friction at the center and very low friction at the outer region of your uh, forging operation. Okay, so in the case of uh, uh, in the case of your mixed type of equilibrium condition, you will have some you can write your equilibrium equation for mixed friction case like this: h d sigma x minus plus tau twice of tau dx. Okay, how it is written? Okay, so h d sigma x minus plus twice of tau dx equal to 0, where your tau is equal to mu p. Okay, so this tau is representing your frictional stress due to your pressure, and if your mu p is less than k, tau is equal to k, tau is equal to mu p if your mu p is less than k. Okay, and tau equal to k if your mu p is less than equal to k. Okay, so this is representing your uh, your case when we are having both type of condition, that is low friction as well as high friction condition. Okay, so in this case, let us try to apply the one Mrs. yield criteria. Again, sigma x plus p equal to 2k. Differentiating again, d sigma x equal to minus dp. So substituting this value in the equilibrium equation, that is equation number 21, you will get h dp minus plus twice of tau dx equal to 0. Okay, so you could get SVP equal to minus plus twice of tau dp equal to 0. Okay, now let us assume certain in order to simplify this process, that is the analysis of mixed friction condition. Let us assume that that the transition from sticking to slipping occurs at certain point x1. Okay, so we from the your symmetric axis, suppose, because we are saying that we are having sticking condition at this at the at the center, and at the outer region we are having low friction condition, that is the slipping condition. Okay, so let us assume that this transition is occurring at certain distance x1 from your inner side, okay, or from the axis of the symmetry. Okay, suppose this is the value beyond which your low friction conditions are applicable, and inside this point your high friction conditions are applicable. Okay, so later this point is at distance x1 from the center line. Okay, so here the transition point can be obtained from the conditions mu p equal to k, and where p upon 2k at x1 is equal to 1 upon twice mu. Okay, if you put these values here, you will get there. Okay, but since we are saying that at this particular point x1 you are having slipping friction conditions, so let us try to recall the equation number 12 when we were discussing about your low friction condition or the sticking friction condition. We will simply put x equal to x1 in this particular equation, and we will get the value of p upon 2k at x equal to x1 from this equation. Okay, let us move ahead for our first forward mode. Okay, so we have got this term from the equation number 12, that p upon 2k at x1 it should be equal to e raised to the power twice mu upon h into p upon 2 minus x1. This is the case when we are trying to get the value of p upon 2k at x1 using your slipping friction condition, and this would be the same for the sticking friction condition. When we are trying to calculate this value, this will be 1 upon twice of mu. Okay, so this will be e raised to the power twice mu upon h into p upon 2 minus x1 equal to 1 upon twice of mu. Okay, so this has resulted that okay, yeah, taking both sides, taking natural log of both sides, we will get, because it was e raised to the power some expression and some this. Okay, so take natural log of both sides, we will get twice of mu upon h into b upon 2 minus x1 equal to natural log of 1 upon twice of mu, or you can say x1 equal to b by 2 minus h upon twice mu natural log of 1 upon twice of mu. Okay, this you have got from the by taking the natural log of equation number 25. Okay, and by simplification you have got the value x1 equal to b upon 2 minus h upon twice mu natural log of 1 upon twice mu. Okay, yes, now move ahead. From the point x1 to the outer edge of the normal pressure value will be governed by the equation for slipping friction, because we are having low friction condition beyond the point x1. But when we move towards center from x1, it will be governed by the sticking friction conditions. Okay, normal pressure for sticking friction conditions on right hand side, it can be given by equation number 18, as discussed in in the case of sticking friction condition, this will be P upon 2K equal to minus X upon H plus constant. Okay, put the value X equal to X1, we will get P upon 2K equal to 1 upon twice mu. Okay, so P upon 2K equal to boundary conditions at x equal to x1, it will give P upon 2 equal to 1 upon twice of mu. Using the above equations, we will get constant, that is C equal to 1 upon twice mu plus x1 upon h. Okay, since we are saying that P upon 2K equal to minus x1 upon h plus constant. Okay, so this will be constant equal to P upon 2K x1 upon h. Okay, so this is from equation number 26. Now, thus for the value of normal pressure between 0 and x1 at any value of x on the right hand side can be obtained as P upon 2K equal to 1 upon twice of mu plus x1 minus x upon h. Okay, so using this equation, you can get the normal pressure between the points 0 to x1. Okay, at any value of x on right hand side, you can obtain the value by using this particular term. Okay, a similar process you can use to derive the expression for the left hand side. Okay, you can derive the expression in the left hand side using the same methodology. Okay, yes, yeah. So this is how we calculate, we can calculate the pressure distribution in low friction conditions, high friction conditions, and mixed friction conditions, when we are having both kind of friction, that very high friction at the center, very high friction at the center, and very low friction at the outer periphery. Okay, so this is how we evaluate the pressure distribution in the case of your open die forging process. Okay, now what is required? Suppose we are interested to calculate the force requirement. Okay, so in order to calculate the force requirement, once we have got the pressure distribution, we can get the average pressure, and by calculating the average pressure, you can multiply the average pressure by the length of your rectangular block, and you can get the total pressure uh, total pressure force requirement in the case of your forging operation. Okay, so like in the case of, in order to calculate the total forging force per unit length of the workpiece, it is obtained by integrating the pressure of the interface area. The mean forging pressure can be obtained as P average integration 0 to b by 2 P b by 2 into dx. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the average pressure, and in order to calculate the total forging force P per unit length, it can be obtained as P equal to B, that is the width of your final force component, B into P into P average. Okay, so this will give you the total force required in the case of your open die forging, when uh, uh, we are we are trying to calculate the force using the slab method. Okay, so for today I will stop